Newsfirst, Newsline with Faraz Shaukatali.
And a very good evening to you. This is Newsline Zoom. Thank you very much for joining us. Our guest this evening is Dr. Shanuka Senarath, who is not only an attorney at law, but is also senior lecturer at the University of Colombo, which of course is in Sri Lanka. Just on a personal note, before we start, I'd like to say this, that for regular viewers, you will notice that I'm not wearing my straps, and that is my very own personal protest against the rising cost of living and the extortionate increase in the electricity prices, which I'm sure the people of Sri Lanka will agree that it is simply unfair and absolutely extortionate, given the economic crisis that this country is going through. And to satiate the quest for people to hang on to power is a huge price that the public are being asked to pay. On that note, so that's my own personal protest. Dr. Shanuka Senarath, thank you very much for joining us here in Newsline.
Thank you, Faraz.
Now then, yes, thank you. Now then, Dr. Shanuka, tell me, why on earth does this government believe that they have the right to merely tax their way out of trouble? I mean, the people don't have enough money to start with.
I would start it with this way. So if you look at the fuel increase, I would rather see that as another indirect tax from the community, because people are already suffering from skyrocketing inflation, huge taxes, and depreciation of the rupee. And on top of that, from yesterday onwards, we had a huge hike in fuel prices, in electricity prices as well. So if you look at the hike, it's for those who are consuming less than 60 units of electricity. The hike is around 265% increase from what they already have. Now, again,
265% for people consuming less than 60 units.
That's right. That's right. So that is more than double of what they are paying at the moment. So it's almost 3 times of what they are paying at the moment. And we are talking about those who are consuming less than 60 units of electricity. Like if you go back to the government's policy on reconstructing Samurdhi allowances, the government has considered those who are consuming less than 90 units of electricity as poor. It's a dummy variable to find out poor people as poor people who are eligible for Samurdhi allowance. So that's what the government came up with few weeks ago. And now suddenly, for the same cluster of community, the government has given a 265% increase for the electricity they are consuming. So that is a huge increase on top of all the economic hardship we are going through. So if I may go beyond, I will take you to some global data. If you look at the prices in the global context, when Russia started invading Ukraine, the oil prices went to a barrel of oil has hiked into $130 per barrel. So that is the peak it reached. And now it's somewhere around $80 a barrel. So if you convert this into all the prices and everything and convert it to how much would it cost for a liter of petrol in Sri Lanka, it will be well below 200 rupees per liter of petrol. So those are the statistics. If you look at the diesel prices, it will be less than 275 rupees a liter. Now, if you look at the actual prices that is in the market, it's almost double of it. Like a liter of petrol is around 400 rupees. It is 400, which should be less than 200. So see the amount of tax that is included in oil, in fuel. Now, again, if you look at to the deeper picture, if you go to the Electricity Board and the Ceylon Petroleum Corporation, now these two entities are also provided fuel based on these prices. So they're not subsidized. So the Treasury of Sri Lanka is imposing the same tax on fuel that is being given to the Ceylon Electricity Board and to the Ceylon Petroleum Corporation. So as a result, the prices of electricity is skyrocketing. That is one good reason why the prices of electricity has increased this much. Now, if you look at the past 2 years, the amount of tax that the Electricity Board and the CPETCO has paid to the government is twice the size of the loss they have made. If you heard me correct, they have made a loss. That's what the government was saying all the time. CPETCO and the CEB are making losses. And the tax they have paid to the Treasury is twice the size of the loss they have made. So imagine the amount of prices, amount of taxes that are imposed on fuel. So that is one good technical reason why the prices are in such a hike. The other good reason, I would say, if you look at the structure of the Electricity Board and the CPETCO, there is a lot of discussion on their inefficiencies, like financial inefficiencies, their technical inefficiencies, corruption and wastage incorporated with these two entities. Now, we heard how many employees are just being employed for the sake of political reasons in these entities. So, and their price and their salaries, which are like nowhere near to what an average professional in this country would draw. Now, given these inefficiencies, wastage, and possible corruption in these two entities, now the final price of electricity does not reflect the global prices by any chance. So they're not reflecting the global oil prices or the actual costs that are included in producing a unit of electricity, but they are reflecting the inefficiencies, wastage, corruption, technical inefficiencies, everything. Taxes are reflected in the current electricity prices. So that is how I would conclude the prices, which are in any means, as an economist, this is devastating to the economy. We'll go to the economic consequences of these price hikes in our discussion. This is devastating. This is a deadly blow on our economy.
But I want to ask you this: if you now put on your legal hat, you put on your economic hat previously now, but if you use your legal hat into this, we've had the Supreme Court, I think, who didn't take any umbrage really on the increase in prices, which I suppose the Supreme Court only interprets the law really, and if you need to increase prices, you increase prices, and can't get involved in policy and so on, unless of course it's some sort of patently damaging to the people's interests and so on. But putting on your legal hat, what is there anything that the people can do? Is there any modicum of legal recourse to force the Electricity Board and the CPC to stop making losses, to make their staff more accountable, to be more transparent, or simply transparent in their purchasing? Because corruption at the CEB in this industry, at any rate, has no bounds really, and the people are continuing to suffer. At what point can the law step in and address the people's suffering? That's my question.
Well, that for us is a controversial question. So we have no right to question the decisions of the court structure. So we would avoid that. But of course, I would put it this way. Price increases are least challenged in law, because this is a price that is being imposed by an entity for their product. So in economics, if you do not want the product, it's right, you can stop consuming that. So I would put it that way when it comes to the legal terms, but there is a lot behind that. For example, let's say the electricity board did not want to stop their power cut during the advanced level examinations. They said it's a capacity issue. But yesterday, the Honorable Minister has given a statement saying they are no longer going to cut power given the increase in prices. But
don't you think, Dr. Senarath, that these are mere words just to get over the same thing, and there's no basis, there's no integrity. The people don't believe them somehow. Exactly. I, for one, don't believe them.
I don't believe either. As in, it was according to the minister, it was a capacity issue 1 day ago when the prices have gone up. Now it's a possible thing. Now this is a bit controversial. See the way in which they have addressed the people and the manner in which they are talking to people. I agree with you, Faraz, that I do not believe that these promises would kept for so long. So we'll see how long the government is going to keep their promises and to provide electricity in a continuous manner. The issue is, again, the electricity board is earning in rupees, so from which they cannot buy coal, off-well, or whatever they want. So they have to use dollars. So the actual issue is in dollars when it comes to providing.
But I put it to you as an economist this time round, that when the government engages in these sort of price increases, and if they want to, they can blame the IMF or anybody else under the sun. We don't really care. All we care is that the people simply don't have the money to pay this. So, the people are greatly inconvenienced. But what about the damage it's doing to our leisure industry, to our hotels? If you want dollars, the easiest way for Sri Lanka to obtain dollars right now is to make use of the infrastructure that they already have in place in the tourism industry. There are thousands and thousands of hotel rooms. There are hundreds of millions of dollars invested in these properties. And if Sri Lanka is going to have its electricity prices increased, clearly the hotel rates will go up, and eventually we may be uncompetitive when we are compared to our regional competitors, like in Thailand and in parts of India and so on. And of course, the Maldives is a separate entity altogether because it's a different brand of tourism. It's very high end. So don't you think that by these increases, we are merely looking up and spitting or spiting ourselves, really?
Absolutely, Faraz. It's fair enough to say that, because we are already lagging behind in tourism industry, because Maldives, India, Pakistan, all our regional, Thailand, Malaysia, is far ahead when it comes to tourism. In Sri Lanka, to be honest, now what we have are the budget tourists who are arriving our country. The value addition from a tourist arrival is just 20%. So that means if we get $100 from a tourist, we are sending back another $80 for the infrastructure that we need. So that is the nature of current tourism, because we are getting budget tourists. And I hesitate to use the word budget, but that is the reality. Look at the rest of the world. For example, when you look at Dubai, Thailand, Malaysia, their value addition in tourism is quite high, because the cluster of tourism they are promoting is far ahead than ours. So we are looking in.
All right. And on that note, let's go for a quick break and take a peek at this evening's headline news from that wonderful primetime news team at News First. We'll see you on the other side of the break with Dr. Shanuka Senarath.
News First, Newsline with Faraz Shaukat Ali.
News First headlines. Main sponsor.
Durden's Hospital, dedicated to you.
Postal voting postponed indefinitely due to the delays in printing ballot papers. Funds and lack of police protection cited as reasons for the delay in printing ballot papers. Local government polls interrupted. Again, a new circular issued by the Minister of Finance. Violating the constitution will lead to legal action. A warning from the opposition. 700 million of taxpayers' money to be lost under the guise of wasted crude oil. President says IMF funds will come in March.
News First headlines. Main sponsor.
Durden's Hospital, dedicated to you. Experience the best in healthcare at Durden's Hospital. We continue to evolve into a purpose-built hospital built to deliver world-class care. Trusting us for all your healthcare needs. Durden's Hospital, dedicated to you.
Newsfirst Newsline with Faraz Shaukut.
And very good evening to you again. This is Newsline Zoom. After our break, our guest today is Dr. Shanuka Senarath, who is, of course, apart from an attorney at law, he's also a senior lecturer at the University of Colombo in Sri Lanka. Welcome back, Dr. Senarath. Now then, we were talking about this. Why don't you carry on and expand a little bit?
Yes, we were talking about the consequences of the price hike in our industries. So we were talking about tourism and the amount of value that is being added by tourist arrivals in modern Sri Lanka, because what we are talking about is some sort of budget tourism that what we are experiencing in Sri Lanka at the moment. So if you look at the other industries, now the biggest problem for us with the economy at the moment is the economy is shrinking. The World Bank has estimated that our economy will shrink 4% in this year, but that is the formal economy. A country like us, Sri Lanka, where there is a lot of informal economy is going around, so actual economic shrinking would be around 6 to 7%. That's my estimate. And over the last 2 years, our economy kept on shrinking. As a result, we are already losing our competitiveness in the international market, also our domestic industries. Now, already with the inflation, our industries, our local industries, our small scale, medium scale, and also large scale industries have suffered a lot because of the inflation, the price hike, and the cost increase. They are not in a position to produce at economies of scale. So what we are talking about, unless in economics, unless you produce a proper amount, an optimal amount of production, cost of a unit would be extremely high. Now, what happens with this tax increase, the tax and the electricity bill, people are limiting their demand for the essential musts.
Would you say that it is highly dangerous and it's gambling with our future by increasing these prices to such an extent that our leisure industry, our tourism industry may simply not be competitive?
Fair enough, because with the price increase, our costs of providing services will definitely go up because we use electricity for everything. And even when it comes to other, other subsidiary services included in tourism, the prices will definitely go up because of the economic crisis. Because as I told you, the economy is shrinking. As a result, some industries are collapsing. So that affects in various ways for tourism industry and other industries in the country which are shrinking. So we are likely to lose our competitiveness in tourism. Also, we are likely to lose most of the local industries because they cannot produce their goods and services given there is less demand from the public. So that's what I said, this is a dead blow on the economy, because the already shrinking economy will shrink further with this increase in electricity prices.
And of course, what would your solution be? Because let's be fair to the government. Let's ask the question the other way around. What is the solution? Is the solution to be lean and mean, to make sure that your corruption goes out of the window, and that people, you can't have organizations just stuffed with lackeys because they've worked in your election campaign, and therefore you must only employ the number of people that you actually need to run the business, not take into account political considerations.
Yes, those are long-term solutions for us. So I will come up with one short-term solution that is possible, some technical solution. I think this was implemented, or the government was trying to implement this somewhere around 2012, but it didn't work out due to some political issue. The government can definitely allow importing petrol and diesel fuel for the electricity board and the petroleum corporation at the CIF price. So once you get fuel to the electricity board at the CIF price, the prices will go down by 50%. So also, there should be some sort of formula that reflects global fuel prices in the local market. Because the government is trying to cover all their corruption, all their inefficiencies, all their income generation through taxation and taxing on fuel. You get my point. So once you do that, the inflation will keep on skyrocketing. So my simple solution that is very simple. Provide fuel to the electricity board at the CIF price. Provide fuel to the public at a formula which reflects the global fuel prices, which changes with the global fuel prices, not a 100% tax on fuel. So that will partially solve the problem, at least in the short term. Then we can talk about corruption. We were talking about corruption over the last years, but nothing happens. A government, when it comes to the government policies with the IMF, they're happy to do everything, but not to talk about corruption. That's how I feel. The government is not talking about the clauses on corruption with the IMF, but they're talking about increase in prices. They are very much in agreement with increase in prices. They are very much in agreement with cost reflective prices, but they're not talking about keeping a full stop for corruption. So that is something fishy on the government side.
In this context, about addressing corruption, don't you feel that the recent Supreme Court order, in terms of when the Supreme Court ordered the former president and various officials, including the IGP and the Defense Secretary at the time, to pay compensation to the victims of the Easter tragedy, don't you think that the longer picture here is that the Supreme Court, who are, of course, taking care of the taking care of the people and the people's interests, that the Supreme Court order is actually the only way left for the people of Sri Lanka to ensure that they get proper delivery without wastage? Because if these officials are going to be cheating, because that's, for want of another word, that's what it is, they're cheating. And if they continue cheating, that the Supreme Court will be the final arbiter, and that they may have to step in at some point if they are petitioned by someone.
Yes. Very, very progressive judgment and decision, which we respect. We have no right to comment on such, but as a lawyer, now this is a given court decisions already in legal books, and very progressive movement. What we can also think about, being a government servant, I would also say, when the government officials are misusing their powers or not using their powers, now we have a benchmark decision under which we can go to seek the justice of law based on these progressive decisions. Definitely, this is going to be a milestone in Sri Lankan history, because for the first time, high officials being sort of judged
Well, they're being held accountable, aren't they?
Accountable for their actions, and which is something already in law. Like when we are going for a human rights violation against a government official, we can always go with a delict case or a civil liability case against the particular government officer, which we should do in order to protect our rights. So this is a completely different arena, which we should be discussed separately, I believe. And I agree with you, Faraz. It's a milestone in our way forward.
Well, Dr. Shanuka Senarath, thank you very much for being on Newsline Zoom. We've much appreciated your candid commentary. And we hope that the people of Sri Lanka will realize that when elections come, they mustn't be swayed by the bath packet and the quarter bottle of alcohol and the inevitable T-shirt and nowadays the hat too. Because at the end of the day, you're paying much more than all of that when you get poor delivery. And we all hope, the people, from judging from the comments that I'm getting on my on our number here, 0772 300 305, that the people are not amused. They are certainly not amused at the rising cost of living. And sadly, nothing done by the politicians to show that they're taking concrete steps to cut down on their expenditure and to join the rest of the people in our battle to overcome this crisis. Dr. Senarath, thank you very much for being on Newsline.
Thank you,
Zoom.
Faraz.
And that's the way it was this evening. Take care and try to have a good weekend. You can focus on how you can save your electricity costs and so on. And we'll be back on Monday evening. Take care and God bless you.
self image හැම කෙනාම තමන්ගේ වැඩේ හරියට කරා නම් අපි නැගිටිනවා. බරපතල චෝදනාවක් තියෙනවා දුම්රිය දෙපාර්තමේන්තුවේ අතිකාල සඳහා විශාල මුදලක්. පැහැදිලිවම ලංකාවේ අයිස් ප්‍රචලිත වුණා.
ඒ කණ්ඩ දෙන පත්‍රික ඒ පිගානට එන එක කඩින් හාල් කන කෙනාට තේරෙන්නේ නැහැ.
කව ආරම්භ වෙච්ච පොලිස් සංස්කෘතිය නෙමෙයි දැන් මේ වෙද්දි තියෙන්නේ. පුද්ගල පොලිසියට ආවට පස්සේ අපි යන්නේ ඔහුලඟ. සංචාරකයන්ට විකුණන්නේ ඔවුන්ගේ සිහින.
චර දේවල් ලැබුණත් මදි.
මට පෞද්ගලිකව දෙනවා නම් තපල් දෙපාර්තමේන්තුව මම දන්නවා ලාභ හොයන්න හැටි.
ව්‍යාපාරික ලොව නව ප්‍රවණතා නව නිෂ්පාදන නව දැනුම නව අවස්ථා ඔබට ගෙනෙන ව්‍යාපාරික තොරතුරු අවකාශය කෝපරේට් බ්‍රීෆ් බ්‍රහස්පතින්දා රාත්‍රී 7:30 සටන 3.0
මේ හැමදාම මිනිස්සුන්ට වරදින තැන මේ රට ගැන හිතපු නායකයා හිටියේ තැන නැත්නම් ඔය හැම ජනාධිපතිවරයාටම අපිට නඩු පවරන්න පුළුවන්. මේ පාරක් සම්ධානගත වුණාද? ඇත්තටම අර්බුද ඇති කරපු මිනිස්සු කවදාවත් අර්බුද වලට විසඳුම් දෙන්නේ නැහැ. ඉතලා 88 89 කාලේ හොඳ තරුණියෝ නෙමෙයිද මැරුණේ? එදා පාලනය කරපු පාලකයන් සියලු දෙනාම වග කියන්න ඕන. කලින් වෙච්ච වැරදි නොවෙන්නනේ ඊළඟ ආණ්ඩුවපත් කරගන්න. වංචාව දූෂණය රජ වෙන්නේ මේ ගමේ ආණ්ඩුවේ. මොකද අරගලයට උනේ? අරගලේ අවසන් නැහැ.
වර්තමාන දේශපාලනයේ ජනතා ශේෂපත්‍රය සටන සඳුදා රාත්‍රී 9:30